Hello, welcome to 15 minutes of consulting best practices. My name is Maria Isabel Rios, and I'm joined by my colleague Mahuli. Hello, Mahuli.
Hello, Maria Isabel, and hello, everybody. It's good to be on here.
You know how this space works by now, most of you at least who have joined us before. We're here to answer your questions about how to create success and to create tractions for your consulting firm. We know you're here when you say hi, when you post a comment, and it takes us a minute to see what you write. So if you're here, post something in the chat, post your questions so that we have a time to address them today. We're often left out with one or two questions hanging, like what happened last week where Eric posted a question that we're going to answer first today. If you don't want that to happen, start right away. Hello, John. Thank you for saying hi right away. Thank you. Appreciate it. And for those of you who are new, we also welcome your comments, your insights, all your learnings, right, are part of the discussion, are part of how we create value for others in this conversation. So let's dive in. Let's address Eric's question that was left open from last week. And hello, Daniel. Hello, Michael. Hello, Preston. Good day to all of you. All right, Jaren, if you're thank you. So Eric said, I have a client who seems very happy and has agreed to a case study, which is going to unlock another client in a similar space. Congratulations, Eric. But they need legal approval, and the legal person left, and my main sponsor has been on PTO and is a bit to get a hold of. Okay, so challenging to get a hold of the person on PTO and the legal folks and the people who are going to provide the case study. You don't want to be a squeaky wheel. All requests for feedback have been positive every time you have asked. They're also in acquisition talks with a PE firm. So I don't want to make life more stressful for them, but I would love to give something to this new client that is requesting a case study in exactly the same space, which is not competitive, good thing, with my existing client. How should I play this? So what's your take, right? Eric has an opportunity, same space, great satisfied client with good feedback. That could get him, or could be what tips the opportunity in his favor, right?
Right.
And at the same time, a little bit of a challenge in getting a hold of the folks because of PTO, because of a looming acquisition, because of legal needing to approve language for a case study. So what's our advice to Eric?
Okay, so first of all, the biggest thing here, just so that I'm clarifying the question, is that Eric is just trying to get a hold of the key stakeholders who will make sure that this project moves forward, or he's able to get this SOW going. So what I would recommend that Eric do is see if his current client is willing to have an informal conversation with somebody within with his client prospect, so that at the very least he can surface the fact that he's trying to get this proposal over or this SOW over the bar, and then move forward. In though you absolutely need to get the legal person involved. However, through informal conversations, you can figure out what else there is that you can do to cross the finishing line, if you will. Maria Isabel, what do you think?
Right. So there's a difference between a formal case study where you might need legal, right, involved to approve language, to approve the visuals of a case study, to approve the name of the company being on the case study, versus an informal conversation, much like when you check references. I think that's probably what you had in mind, Mahuli, yes. Right? When you check references, exactly. When you're interviewing somebody. And then, exactly. Preston, exactly what you're saying, right? The potential client having conversation with a prospective client and say, hey, how's it like to work with them? Right? How's it like to work with Eric's team? What kind of value do you get? And kind of build the case study through a live conversation. If they're willing and open to do that, that could be a win. That could get you through what you need at this stage. And then keep pursuing your case study. Absolutely. Build it into what you want as a desired outcome of this conversation. And you can have timing, you can pace it with your client. You can follow the timing that they need and all of that. So yeah, great idea. So thank you, Preston, for participating. Let's see what John is saying as well. So, John, go
I
ahead.
can read to you John's question here, Maria Isabel. It says, I created a tool for clients to use in Excel. One client wants to make a bunch of customizations for her business. We made a few, but her requests have continued, and it's looking like a lot of time and energy. Any good way to say enough is enough?
All right, John. So good for you for creating a tool that is so useful, right? That a client wants to adopt as their own. And this is not an unusual situation, right? Particularly when you have somebody who's day in and day out in any sort of a tool. In your case, it's an Excel-based tool, but we see it all the time, right? Clients start adopting a tool and they're like, well, but what if it could do this? And what if it could do that? And little by little, over time, all these modifications add up. I think it's worthwhile having a discussion with your client. And you can create a space where you say, look, we've gone through several adaptations. Let's sit down. Let's see what adds the most value for you. Because there's a couple of scenarios. One is you've got most of the value that you're going to get out of the tool as it is. And then that's fantastic, right? We leave it as is. You're welcome, Eric. And you can continue to work with the tool as it is right now. That's one scenario that you can put forward, right? And that's the scenario where you're saying enough is enough in a right side up way, where you're highlighting they're already getting the value they need out of the tool, and the additional modifications create marginal value, and maybe for cosmetic purposes or for convenience, but the value they're actually extracting is perhaps not worth the lift. The second scenario is where you say, look, this is what it would take for us to continue to make modifications or customizations to your tool. We would have to scope it out. We would have to sit. Perhaps we need to expand the project we're doing, or we need to make a mini project or a mini add-on. If we were to do that, what would be the value for you, and what level of investment would make it worthwhile? And then you will really see whether this is a priority for your client or not, and in what context is a customization and effort that they're willing to take on, right? And there's a fine line that you will know where to draw, John, when a customization is something that's easy enough to do, like it sounds like you've been doing so far, right? And you can actually adapt it, or where a bunch of easy enough adds up to the point where it becomes unreasonable over time. You also want to create the expectation of saying, look, we're happy to adapt. We can accumulate in our own kind of stack a bunch of desired customizations. And when we reach a list that is deep enough or broad enough, then we'll tackle it, right? We'll draft it out on, we'll scope it out, and we'll make a plan to deploy it, and we'll deploy all the customizations at once versus doing one little thing at a time. So think what our approach is, that you can sit with your client, think about, help them think through priorities, help them think through, is this something they really want to invest kind of time and effort, and help them realize that this is a lift, right? It's adding up to a lift for you, for your team. Right, John, let us know if this is helpful or not. And for everyone else, for all of you who are here, also let us know what questions you have for us, right? We're here for you. John is saying, when you've had enough and you're satisfied with your contractual agreements, yeah, you love your tool, we can make customized changes for you. Can we set up a contract? Exactly, right? But you will also ask, is this something you have an appetite for, right? You wouldn't necessarily assume they will want to do that. You would understand at some point they're like, yeah, no, maybe not, right? And teach the existing client to fish. What Excel training will help the client? Yes. Though sometimes, Preston, you would want to lock your models up or lock your tools up so clients cannot independently manipulate them. It depends on how you are collaborating with them over time. It depends on whether in your agreements with the clients, you actually gave clients the right to take ownership of tools or not, or to adapt your IP or not, to make it their own or not, or to distribute it in their organization or not. I imagine, John, you thought about all of this ahead of time. And if not, that's an invitation for all of you who deploy tools in clients to establish that at the agreement level. You know, who owns the tools? What can the client do on their own? And what are they allowed to do over time? Does the tool become the client's, in which case Preston's approach is very valid, right? Can they make the modifications on their own versus keep coming back to you? Or do you own the tool over time, in which case your client is expected not to make any modifications on their own, or there will be boundaries to what they can and cannot do? And therefore they are required to come back to you. So think about this. If you haven't already, when you have clients that use tools that are yours, what are the limitations, right? What can they do on their own? Is it clear who owns it and for how long? Or do they just have a right to use it? And what are the conditions for manipulation?
That's great.
All right.
That's great, Maria Isabel. And just to add to that, in the scenario that the customization starts to deviate from whatever is best practice, it's good to put that on the table if such a deviation is happening as well, John, right? So everything that Maria Isabel said, but also if you're starting to find that you are doing requirements, they're constantly coming with requirements, then put it all on the table. Say, hey, would it be helpful if we had a requirements gathering session to support a more consolidated way to help the client?
All right. I think there was a question that came in also, Jaren. If you want to pull up a question, we'll address it quickly as well. All right. All right. Do you want to read it, Mahuli?
Yep. It says here, right now in 2025, what marketing tactic is most powerful for winning clients?
Oh, all right. All right, Corina. Good job on asking the question. So marketing tactic, it's an interesting question, right? Because as much as we want to come here and tell you there is a magic answer, and as much as we wish there is one, there's no magic pill, right? Now, we can tell you what the most powerful marketing tactic is, and it's the one that you will actually do, right? So we always advocate for you doing the marketing tactic, or you taking on the marketing tactic that you're willing to do. That's always the most powerful one, right? Now, connecting, networking, meaning outreaches to your network core, and all of this hopefully resonates. Non-negotiable, should always be on. So reaching out to your network, connecting with your folks, always, always, always be on. And in addition to that, choose the marketing tactic that resonates the most with you, the one that best fits you, that one that plays to your strengths, to your predisposition. From what we're seeing today, collaborations, partnering, in David's book, the Irresistible Consultant's Guide to Winning Client, we call it trade associations, is what it's creating traction a lot faster. So if you want to create traction faster, think about collaborations, partnering, trade associations, but take into account that the most powerful marketing tactic, second to connecting and networking, is the one you would actually do, Corina. So think about what plays to your strengths and go with that. And with that, we come up to the 15-minute mark. So we have a few items that we want to share with you. First of all, if you haven't already, add the link that Jaren is going to share to your calendar. Create a calendar event in whatever your time zone is so that you can join us every Monday. davidafields.com/Monday Live. It will bring you here every Monday. And that way you can join us. You can ask your questions. You can bring your questions in advance. And that way you can participate in the conversation. Second request is if you haven't yet subscribed to the articles that come out every Wednesday, subscribe as well. Thank you, Jaren. davidafields.com/subscribe. Not only the articles are full of practical and tactical tidbits, but you can also read in the comments, participate in the conversation. They also have quite a few insights, right, as well. So good learnings in there coming out your way every Wednesday. And lastly, connect with us on LinkedIn. We love to hear from you. We love to hear what is valuable. You have our handles right there. If you haven't already, we both love to be connected with you, as does David, who's in vacation right now. So when he comes back, you'll love to click on accept connection as well. So please do that if you haven't done so already. And with that, thank you so much for being with us today. Look forward to seeing you next Monday. Have a great week. Remember that consulting is about them. It's about our clients. It's about creating success for them, for our market, for our prospects. And in creating success for them, we create success for all of us. So be right side up, be about them. And have a great week. Bye.